Stephanie White erupts. Indiana Fever have just dramatically fallen to the LA Sparks. Up until this point, everything seemed to suggest that the Fever were riding a golden streak. Yet what happened next will leave you perplexed. The officiating decisions were so poor and biased that even Stephanie White had to step forward. The truth is, the Fever entered the match carrying clear disadvantages. Caitlin Clark was sidelined with an injury. Her presence on the floor was essential to provide order, flow, and a steady threat. Darius Dantas was absent playing with her national team. Dana Bonner departed for personal matters, so 3 key pieces were missing. Even so, the betting line still favored the Fever, granting them a 73% chance and a 6.5-point edge according to ESPN and MGM. Tell us below in the comments what you think of the WNBA referees. However, from the opening minutes, something felt off. The offensive tempo was slower, less dynamic. Without Clark, the players seemed less connected, less determined. Aaliyah Boston, who usually dominates the paint, was not receiving the ball as frequently. Kelsey Mitchell assumed more responsibility, and, little by little, the system began to show cracks. And that was where everything went wrong. The referees stepped in, and the chaos started. Sophie Cunningham was grabbed by the neck while fighting for a loose ball, but instead of calling a foul, they signaled a jump ball. On the next play, she was shoved to the floor and, yet again, nothing at all. From that point on, the same story repeated over and over. Then it happened to Aaliyah Boston. The officials called her for a foul, then a second, then a third in succession just for having her arms raised. Ordinarily clean defense. Next, Michaela McDonald picked up 2 quick fouls and had to sit. And to cap it all, Natasha Howard was smacked in the face on a drive to the rim, and, instead of whistling the foul, the referees ruled sideline ball. Despite a clearly adverse context marked by questionable officiating decisions and an atmosphere thick with tension, 3 players, far from giving in, chose to confront adversity with bravery, professionalism, and a competitive level that brushed excellence. Aaliyah Boston, subjected to constant pressure both from the intensity of the game and the repeated calls that went against her, managed to rise above the situation to sign off on an outstanding performance. 23 points and 12 rebounds. Figures that not only reflect her impact on the game, but also reaffirm her status as an undisputed star within the WNBA. She controlled the paint with authority, erasing second-chance looks all night. Boston was a beacon amid the storm, providing leadership, efficiency on both ends, and an untiring attitude even when the circumstances appeared to be fully stacked against her. For her part, Kelsey Mitchell also shone in her own light. The shooting guard took on the offensive burden in the most demanding moments, scoring 19 points that included 3 decisive three-pointers in stretches of maximum tension. Her ability to deliver under pressure was crucial to keep her team's hopes alive. Beyond her individual output, the night carried special meaning for Mitchell as she reached an emblematic milestone in her career: 251 games wearing the Indiana jersey, thus becoming the second player with the most appearances in franchise history, trailing only the legendary Tamika Catchings. However, despite the unwavering commitment and spirited effort of these players, the referees turned into the evening's unwanted protagonists. During the final quarter, controversial calls followed one after another, sowing confusion, consternation, and outrage both on and off the basketball hardwood, spreading to sidelines and the on-site spectators. One of the most disputed actions occurred when Kelsey Plum, in a play loaded with malice, delivered an obvious elbow to Lexi Hull, violently knocking her down. Instead of stopping to assist or even showing the slightest concern, Plum walked over Hull's fallen body with contempt, an attitude that stunned even her own teammates. Although the referee was only a few meters from the incident, the action was not penalized in any way. No foul, no technical, no review. It was not the only bewildering situation. Soon after, Aaliyah Boston was charged with her fourth personal foul after setting a completely legal screen with no hip movement and no excessive contact. In total, the center accumulated 5 fouls over the course of the game, several of them hard to justify, which seriously limited her time on the hardwood and her influence down the stretch. But the most outrageous moment arrived in the closing moments of the contest. Nalissa Smith drove forcefully through the opposing defense when she was struck squarely across the face. The incident was glaringly obvious to every spectator present. The blow was direct and left the forward visibly shaken and disoriented. Nevertheless, the referees deemed it unnecessary to review the contact or assess a foul of any kind. Their ruling was merely a baseline inbound. Nothing more. In a cruel twist of fate, on the very next possession, a stationary screen several meters from the ball was whistled as a foul in favor of Kelsey Plum, granting 2 crucial free throws that ultimately tipped the balance of the evening. Confronted by such a litany of injustices, even Stephanie White, renowned for her measured temperament and customary caution in public statements, could no longer contain her indignation. At the post-game press conference, her face visibly tense and her voice trembling with frustration, White delivered a sentence that distilled the feeling of the entire organization. They did not give us the fouls. Those 5 words, simple yet momentous, depict a night exasperating, inequitable, and excruciating for a squad that, beyond the scoreboard, showed courage, commitment, and sporting dignity. This loss, as harsh as unfair, shows something powerful. The Indiana Fever have character, have talent, and have soul. In spite of missing 3 essential pieces, they still nearly won. And most importantly, Caitlin Clark is close to returning now. When that happens, Indiana will boast a dream lineup. Clark orchestrating from the point, Boston ruling the paint, Mitchell as a deadly sniper, Hull as defensive energy, and Howard as a veteran. The slate ahead is demanding. Matchups with Golden State, Atlanta, Dallas, Connecticut, and New York all looming. Yet every challenge is a chance to prove that this roster refuses to quit. Each stumble strengthens them. Every injustice turns into pure motivation. Teams that capitalized on Indiana's absences had better brace themselves now, firmly, because once this squad is whole again, it will remember every unfair foul, every slight, every loss that hurt. This locker room is forging champions amid the pain, and the best is still to come. Leave us your thoughts on what happened below, please. Was all the officiating truly fair? Is the WNBA staying consistent with its rulebook? Subscribe, because what we witnessed today was no simple defeat. A clear sign. Indiana Fever are ready to return, and nobody is going to stop them.